What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with Tesla moving forward as we have important news for the week with the shareholder meeting coming up in just a few days. Not to mention important catalysts for the overall market from FOMC and such, and more news about the markets. But before we continue to double all this news, what's happening with the stock market and news about SPY and the others, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you are guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them. And the offer ends in just about a week from now. Anyways, when it comes to Tesla, we have this very, very nice looking inverse head and shoulders like structure that's developing on the charts. But the question is, will this lead to a big breakout for the week, or is Tesla about to get a massive rug pull instead? And is this going to be a trap? I'll give you guys some insights about this, in my opinion, very, very soon. But I first want to talk about some very important factors. So, as you guys know, we have the annual stockholder meeting for Tesla of 2024 on Thursday, June 13th, 2024 at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. This is going to be super, super huge for Tesla, and I believe this is going to be a massive catalyst for the share price. This may lead to a big breakout in one of the directions, and we'll just have to wait and see which one that is. But get ready for this, guys. This is going to be very huge. Now, we have these important propositions we need to be talking about. One of the things, the fourth proposal at least, that I wanted to talk about is this right here. In 2018, stockholders approved the Performance Award, which incentivized Elon Musk to create tremendous value for everyone. In under 6 years, he gave investors a shareholder return of 1,100%. If he failed to achieve the growth targets, he would receive zero compensation, and he did not fail. Musk must hold any shares awarded through stock options for 5 years after the option was exercised, incentivizing him to continue to drive growth. And then this basically worked out very, very well until 6 years later when the Delaware courts ended up ignoring the decision and ordered it to be canceled. So Musk was promised a lot of things. He did keep his promises, and now there's going to be a very, very important vote about whether or not he's going to receive his pay compensation. So in my personal opinion, you guys know what my opinion is already. I agree with his compensation plan. I think that the best, most advantageous move for Tesla is to vote yes, because if shareholders vote no, they'll have to forge another pay compensation plan for Musk, and that's going to cost as much as $25 billion in accounting fees and many other things like that. So it doesn't make sense to go through this all over again, continue to argue and waste time on this. I think Musk deserves his money. He did what he had to do. I think that it's more advantageous to keep him incentivized to continue to work hard, keep him happy, and it's going to be a big investment into the long term because Elon Musk will bring everything back into Tesla's share price, and I still think the share price has more squeeze potential, at least for the long term. So in my personal opinion, guys, I think that we need to just continue to pay attention to this. This is going to be a very big thing for Tesla. I think a massive move is coming thanks to this. Now, for the overall market, we have more stuff coming out. For Monday, June 10th, 2024, at 11:30 a.m., we have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out. Very minor data, might cause somewhat of a move, but nothing too crazy. Tuesday is the same thing. We just have at 11:30 a.m. the 42-day bill auction, the 52-week bill auction also coming out. But on Wednesday, June 12th, that's when we have the important CPI report. We have core CPI month over month and year over year coming out, and also CPI for all items for the same periods. It's going to be very, very huge for how the market ends up moving because later on the same day, on Wednesday, we also have the FOMC meeting, which Jerome Powell giving a speech at 2:30 p.m. and then PPI data on Thursday. So crazy data is coming out on Wednesday and Thursday for the markets. And that also aligns with when Tesla has its shareholder meeting. So that's going to be important. Now, all this will affect the Fed's policies. There's a 99.4% chance the Fed keeps rates the same. And I think they're most likely going to do that as long as we don't see a big, massive spike in CPI. And that's very unlikely because you have to remember that the data for CPI is affected by the previous months. And the last month it came out for the month of April, that was once again very close to expectations. So CPI for the month of May should be very close as well. So it shouldn't be too crazy. And I think there's a good chance they keep rates the same. Now, this is what the earnings calendar looks like for the markets. If you guys are interested in playing these, if you want to take a screenshot, you are free to do so. This is your opportunity right now. This is what it looks like. So these are some of the numbers coming out. We have Oracle announcing their earnings, their EPS, and everything. I might talk about that, but that's pretty much it. Everything else is very minor. Now, as far as news goes, we have some big news coming out for Tesla. Tesla announced that it's not going to be launching its refreshed Model Y this year, according to Elon Musk. But the thing is, this wasn't really like new news, right? This is not really crazy. Musk did say that there's no Model Y refresh coming out this year, but we knew about this. Like I wasn't surprised by this. He mentioned this earlier as well. So even a car that is 6 months newer is still a little bit better according to him, and he is correct about that. So in my personal opinion, to me, it's not really that big of a piece of news because Tesla has so many other things going on for this year. Don't forget in August they also have the robotaxi announcement coming out, and that's going to be huge. I can't wait for that. But I just wanted to say that to me it may not be that big of a news, but the share price may get a somewhat negative reaction to this. It's possible to get a little dip temporarily, but then buyers should still try to defend Tesla within its range. There's also news that came out that the Norway Wealth Fund is voting against Musk's $56 billion pay package, which I find to be kind of ridiculous. I believe that he is deserving of his money, and I think that he's been working without pay for quite a while. He's helped Tesla grow like crazy, and there's so much growth coming, and it's largely thanks to him. He's helped find great employees, a great team to work together, and he's done so much more for Tesla. So I want to give the entire team credit, the entire Tesla team, and I think that Musk deserves what is his, in my personal opinion. So that's very, very important. Different people have different opinions. That's fine. That's completely fine. For two more pieces of news, as you guys know, Nvidia has its 10-for-1 stock split coming out for tomorrow. So that's important. The split already happened. It's just not reflecting on the share price yet. It's going to begin on June 10th. So tomorrow we'll start to see Nvidia's share price adjusted. And Aapl also has a very, very big meeting. We have the Worldwide Developers Conference events that's kicking off on Monday. And it's going to be led by Tim Cook. So that's going to be important. And we'll be watching to see if there's any more AI announcements that could affect Aapl big time. As far as Tesla goes, volume is at 56 million, a little bit below average. So it's not too great. It's very dry volume. That's why Tesla's kind of trading sideways within a range and consolidating. And then the short volume is also dipping a bit. We're not seeing as many shorts piling in. They're just kind of waiting. It's only at about 51%. And then lastly, we have this data right here. The same old thing, guys. We just have some sell ratings. That's the last time we got a big rating from a different ratings agency, from different analysts. The GLJ research is giving them a sell rating. That's pretty much it. Nothing else is changing from here. The price price ratio is flat like a pancake because Tesla's not doing much. It's completely range bound. Mondays historically are green about 53% of the time, so we're hoping we get a decent day tomorrow. But look for more volatility at 10 a.m., around noon, around 2 p.m., and also 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. June is historically green 73% of the time for Tesla when you adjust for everything. I think that now it's adjusting for this June, and now it kind of went down a little bit, but still, for the most part, Tesla is green most days in June. So there should be a nice improvement, at least as time goes on. So, in my personal opinion, I think that from the way I see Tesla moving, there's a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. Could we dip a little bit because of the negative news involving the Tesla Model Y refresh not being announced? It's possible. We could get a little dip thanks to that, but I still think that there's still a much bigger move coming thanks to the shareholder meeting, and that could lead to a lot more upside. I do favor that a little bit more looking at technicals in the pattern, but just to be safe, we will have to wait. So for Tesla, what's been happening is volume is drying up. If you guys look very carefully, oopsies, right here, volume is just slowing down. It's been slowing down for quite some time. It's very low right now, only in like the 50 millions. So we're getting tight, very, very low volume, and Tesla's waiting for a breakout. Right now, we have this range on Tesla. We have this very, very tight range. Tesla loves to reject off 180 to 178, and we love to get bought up around 173 to 174. What is it doing? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for an entire month. It's very boring, in my personal opinion, very tedious. So we just have to wait and see for Tesla to finally get a break. But from the way I see things, even though we're consolidating, even though we also have like a miniature head and shoulders in a much smaller time frame, which could bring us down just a little bit, it's not the end of the world because when you zoom out, like I said before, the bigger structure is still bullish on Tesla. We have a very, very nice left shoulder. We have a head, we have a right shoulder. We're just waiting for the breakouts to happen. So this chart still looks more bullish to me overall, as long as we continue to hold these levels. Now, for tomorrow specifically, with the shareholder meeting coming up, I think that Tesla's going to make a big move approaching it. We could get an initial dip because of the Model Y news. So I'll be watching support at 176. We might retest that, maybe go a little lower. If we do touch this 173 to 174 area, I think that it might just be a little tap, and Tesla will rebound back up. I think that Tesla might try to push towards 180 approaching this event. My prediction is we kind of dip a bit, then we try to bounce back up towards 180, and we'll have to see if Tesla could close above 180 or not. If we break 180, watch 182.5, then 185 as resistance levels. My gut is telling me this might dip a little bit, might get a little dip because of the negative news from today with the Model Y refresh before trying to rebound back up. And I think 180 is going to be a key level, so Tesla's going to try to make its way up higher. I favor that a bit more technically speaking. And if we do manage to close above 180 and continue to push, there's a good chance Tesla could try to get a breakout this week, especially thanks to the very, very big catalyst. So that's what I find to be the most likely possibility. Tesla kind of dipping a bit, then trying to rebound. And I find that to be very, very key. But don't forget about the levels I called out, guys. Breaking and holding above 180 is bullish. Losing 173 is bearish. But I don't favor that. Are we going to lose 173? I think that we might dip a bit and try to bounce. I think it's more likely it's going to try to push higher. For SPY, on the other hand, when you look at the way the technicals are developing, we have this trend line as our support. We're kind of testing this right now. There's a risk of it kind of dipping here because the 4 hour is showing lots of signs of contraction. And when you look at the wick forming on the daily, it looks to me like there is also not only a bearish divergence, but also some signals that we might actually dip a little bit more beforehand. So from the way I see this, in my personal opinion, it depends on our level. If SPY could hold above 533, we could actually remain bullish since we're testing this breakout area. If we lose this, we might actually dip down to 531.5 and then start sinking down to lower levels like 529 if that breaks. So, in my opinion, watch the resistance at 534. If we break through that, we could try to continue to consolidate. We're kind of range bound right now between the 533s and 536 area. If we lose 533, watch 531.5, and we'll see if we bounce off our 20 EMA or not. If we fail to break get a bounce at 531, look for 529 for the bounce. So that's what I find to be the most likely possibility with the bearish divergence forming. I think we're going to be testing 531.5 and maybe try to bounce there. If we don't bounce there, 529 could come, then we bounce. So I'll be looking for those levels over the next 2 days, and I find that to be the most likely possibility. But I will turn very bullish if we manage to break and hold above 536. But just be careful because SPY has been pumping. Resistance is getting tighter the higher we go, and getting a little drop would be completely normal before we try to bounce again. So I do think 531 can be tested. If not 529, then a bounce will come after that. So that's what I see for tomorrow, in my personal opinion, is the most likely possibility. For Nvidia, we're trading sideways within a range right over here. Now we have a gap to fill all the way down here at basically 1164. That's basically 116 once we adjust for the stock split. And we're currently at 120 right now. So it's a very, very small dip, guys. It's not that crazy. A very, very little dip could come before it tries to bounce again. But from the way I see it, we already pumped so much approaching the stock split. So could this be priced in? We'll just have to wait and see. I think that historically, stocks that split do outperform the market, so there's a good chance Nvidia will run more, but there could be a little dip coming. It might try to retest the 1180, if not the 1160s. So basically 118 to 116 first before it tries to bounce. That is the most likely possibility, in my personal opinion. For Bitcoin, oh, and by the way, if I'm wrong about Nvidia and this thing just bounces instantly, you want to see it break above 125 tomorrow. If it does do so, then yes, it could remain bullish. But as long as we don't do that, there's a good chance it's going to either consolidate a bit or actually dip. And I favor the dip a little bit more before it tries to bounce just a bit more. For Bitcoin, we're trying to rebound a bit, look for a test of about 70,000. I think it's going to be testing that. We'll see if it rejects or not. But it's going to try to pop a bit towards that resistance. So I see more upside potential for now. For the QQQ, just like SPY, it's the same thing essentially. We have a nice little uptrend being established based off this white trend line, but we're actually starting to break below it, which is a sign of weakness. So technically speaking, to me, it looks like it might retest 460. If we, bounce off 460, then yes, we could continue higher. If we lose this, we'll be dipping a little bit lower. But technicals show a little bit of weakness with this bearish divergence, the contraction we're getting in momentum, and also the break of this trend line, which suggests that the QQQ is going to likely be dipping down to 460 again. And we'll see if we get a bounce or not. But that's what I find to be the most likely possibility. For Apple, look at 197's resistance. If we break this, I'll be watching 198. Overall, Apple is looking bullish as we have a very, very nice uptrend, and we have the MACD kind of turning to the upside. So I would say that right now I favor a bullish wedge that's forming and a test of 198. So it looks a little bit more bullish to me, and I think that there's a good chance that this could continue. So that's going to be very, very key for how Apple ends up moving. But I favor upside a bit more, and we'll see how things go from there. Now for Neo, the short term is looking a little bit more bearish as we have an inverse cup and handle. That's because of the fact that their earnings were not that great for Q1, but the medium term is still bullish because they had some very, very strong projected deliveries and good guidance, at least for Q2. It wasn't really enough to help the share price, so it might dip a little bit. If we lose 4.7, look for a gap pull all the way down to the low fours. If we lose 4.7, I think we're going to test that tomorrow and we'll see how it goes. But that's what I see as the most likely possibility. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna now just do a speed run for the rest of these tickers. I have a lot left, so I'm gonna be kind of fast. So bear with me. Talking about Palantir, we're testing support at 22.74. If we lose this, I'll be looking for 22.13. I think we might dip a bit before we try to bounce, so I find that to be the most likely possibility for a little dip. For Supermicro, we're looking a little bit more bearish. We have a head and shoulders like structure. I wouldn't be surprised if this dips all the way down towards 750. If we lose this, there'll be a bigger drop all the way down towards the lower 700s. But if we rebound and break past 786, look for a retest of 811. I think that the most likely possibility is we dip a little bit lower to 750 and see what it does from there. For Rivian, we're looking a little bit weaker. We have this resistance all the way up here around this 11.8 area. We have support currently at 11.35. If we lose that, I'll be looking at 10.96. So overall, we're on a slight uptrend on Rivian, but overall, it's holding up well. So we are on an uptrend. Rivian is bullish overall when you look at the inverse head and shoulders and the nice accumulation structure. But for the short term, I think it's going to be kind of dropping towards 11.35, and we'll see if that breaks or not. Might get a little dip first before it tries to bounce as the most likely possibility. SoFi is in a similar boat. I think it's going to be testing 6.92. If we lose this, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 6.84. If we hold 6.92 and bounce off that, then we're pushing back up to the sevens. So look for a little dip and see if it bounces or not. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're actually dipping right here. If we end up continuing to fall, I'll be looking at 200 as support, if not 198. If we hold 200, look for a rebound towards 203. Watch and see a test of 200. If we bounce, look for 203. If we lose that, 198 is coming. For AMD, we're completely range bound right now. We're actually stuck between 170 and 165 as support. We're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, not really doing a whole lot. So we're still kind of stuck right here. So we'll see how things end up going from here. We're actually kind of trending somewhat in the upwards direction, but like I said before, it's still trading sideways for 2 straight days. So give it some time and see which way we break. If it breaks 170, we're going to be pushing all the way up towards 172. If we end up losing 165, look for 163. If that fails us, we dip lower. So we'll just have to give it some time. For ARM, ARM is trading sideways within a range. I'll be looking at support at 134 and resistance around 138. We're kind of stuck right now. I think we're going to be testing 134 and we'll see if we bounce or not. But if we lose that, we'll be dipping all the way down to 132. But overall, ARM is on an uptrend, so we'll just have to give this some time just to see how it ends up reacting. For Coinbase, we're kind of trading sideways right here. Look at resistance around 247. I think we're going to be testing that. If we reject off 247 to 250, we'll be dipping all the way down to 238. If we break past 250, we remain bullish. But as of right now, I think it's going to pop a bit and we'll see if we reject or not. I'm seeing some weakness with this big red bar right here. So it does favor us kind of like popping and dropping as a stronger possibility. So we'll just have to watch just to be safe. Amazon's looking to me like it's going to dip a little bit towards the breakout. So I think it's going to be testing 183. I find that to be very probable. Then we'll have to see if Amazon bounces or not off 183, but I think it's going to be dipping just a bit. Meta is looking a little bit weaker as well, but we haven't lost support right here around the 491 area. If we lose that, we'll be dipping down to 487. If we hold this, we will rebound. So I'll be watching to see if we end up losing support to sink towards 487, but I find that to be a little bit more likely. For Microsoft, we're also kind of turning on the 4-hour. If we dip a bit more, I'll be looking at 421 as our next support zone. So I favor that to be tested as well. So we're looking a little bit more bearish, and I think 421 is a very, very key level. And I think that our 20 EMA could be retested over there. For Google, we're looking a little bit weaker. If we lose 175, we'll be looking for a dip all the way down towards all the way down here at 173.5, this consolidation range. If we bounce off this, we'll be looking for a retest of 177. It's looking a little weaker, like it's going to dip lower, so it does favor downside in my personal opinion. GameStop pumped and dumped, guys. I literally called this out. I said it might pump and dump. It's known for doing that. We have a gap to fill. So if we fail to get back above 28.67, I think we're going to be dipping all the way into 23 to fill our gap. And that's not looking too good to me. The charts look very bearish and weak. Same thing with AMC. We need to hold above 4.88 at the very least to get back above 5.11 to turn back up. If we fail to do so, if we fail to hold 4.88, look for a dip down to fill the gap at 4.34. And this does look more bearish. It looks like it's going to dip lower. So it is what it is, guys. For DJT, we're going to dip towards 44.39. If we bounce off this, look for 45 to be retested. If not, we could continue to sink lower. It's a little bit more bearish. I think 44.39 is going to be tested. We'll have to see how it moves, if it bounces or not. The VIX has come all the way down to the low 12s. It does like to bounce around this level, so it could dip a little bit more and try to rebound. Might retest a 12.85 area, maybe get a little pop. Maybe the market temporarily dips as a result of that, or at least causing that. So we'll have to wait and see. The 10-year Treasury yield, I can't say much about this. We have to wait for what Jerome Powell has to say, how the Fed makes its announcements, or we're just going to wait for that. And the dollar is trying to pop a bit off this 104 area, so this does suggest the market may actually kind of dip a bit. But the trend of the dollar is more bearish. We're actually bearish on the dollar. So the dollar is still on a downtrend, but it's trying to get a temporary rebound because the market is in a very, very interesting place where the market's doing the opposite. The market's on an uptrend, but it might get a temporary move to the downside, right? The opposite. So For Tesla and the others, I think that Tesla is still range bound. There could be a little dip coming because of the Model Y refresh news before another potential bounce. And if we manage to close above 180 tomorrow, Tesla could start its breakout and start pushing very nicely, approaching the shareholder meeting. There's a good chance a big move is coming, and I'm very optimistic for it. So I hope for the best, guys. And I think that Tesla may drop then pop tomorrow. So look for a little drop before it tries to continue higher. I find that to be the most likely possibility. Let's hope for the best, guys. Let's hope things go well for Tesla, and we'll take care. Thank you for listening. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening, and peace out.